I'm Amanda Decker. I am a nurse practitioner and owner of DMA Weight and Wellness, if you have not met me. Today, I am honored to have my guest, Miss Tia Reid. Say hi to Tia,
Hi, everybody.
So I'm going to read her bio so you can hear about her, and then we'll dive in. So Tia is a Certified Nutrition Network Coach Practitioner through the SMHP, and SMHP is the Society of Metabolic Health Practitioners. If you see that MHP behind my name, we are one and the same in sharing that credentials. If you haven't noticed, which she doesn't have all of her credentials on there, Tia and I are chasing the alphabet soup behind our names. We're just adding on credentials and seeing how many letters we can add. I don't know. I've paused for a minute, but I plan on adding more. So regardless, Tia is the new Certified Nutrition Network Health or Coach Practitioner. She is CL Certified Sugar Addiction Specialist. What does CL stand for?
Certified and licensed.
Awesome. For the last 14 years, she's worked as the Director of Nutrition Services at her local hospital. Oh, I think we froze, but I think we're unfroze now. So for the last 14 years, she has worked as the Nutrition Director, Director of Nutrition Services at her local hospital. Tia was previously diagnosed with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, obesity, sleep apnea, adrenal insufficiency, and carbohydrate addictions. And this fueled her to realize that it was time to engage in self-management of her own chronic conditions. She had to do this to save her own life and to continue to be the mom to her 3 children. Under the care of her low-carb doctor, she was able to eliminate over 20 medications, reversing her fatty liver diabetes and obesity. Her personal health journey changed and continues to change her professional path. Her extensive study and coursework through the Nutrition Network and with Benton Johnson gained her certifications that allows her to coach others, which she does after her day job via Zoom. I know, right? As if she needed more stuff to do. She's not done yet, though. She's currently enrolled in a holistic medicine of addiction training program. This will allow her to focus on the proactive treatment of addiction interaction disorder. So Tia, welcome, and thank you for being here. As you may not know, but my viewers know that one of my focuses this year is food addiction and carbohydrate addiction. So thank you for joining me as I continue this journey with my patients and those that view me here. So let's start with just kind of tell me, and you can go as in detailed as you want, your personal story. Start wherever you want, kind of end where you want, but let people hear you so they can hear where you're coming from and hear your heart.
Fantastic. And I just want to tell you, thank you so much for allowing me to share and with your community. I'm excited to be here. So like you've probably heard a lot of people say, I tried so many diets through the years, like, Weight Watchers, restricting, exercising. Me and my daughter tried excessively running, doing a whole bunch of half marathons. I was fearful. I got so sick that I was fearful I was going to lose a foot or my vision, because my vision constantly changed. I went to diabetic educators. I drove to St. Louis to get the best I could. I tried following all the rules, and even brought measuring devices to like restaurants with me to measure amounts.
You were strict.
I tried eating every 4 hours, like I was told, 46 grams of carbs per meal, 3 times a day. 15 grams. I would eat when I wasn't even hungry because I was told that I should eat, and I just gained weight, and I continued to get sicker and sicker. And every time I went to the doctor, there was another medication added. And like you'd said, I was on over 20 medications, and my type 2 diabetes was like spiraled out of control until I needed an insulin pump titration. Wow. And I would give myself a bolus anytime. I would eat whatever I wanted in moderation and give myself a bolus. Well, I had been told so many years ago that I had non-alcoholic fatty liver, and that it was common, and for me not to worry about it, and that there was not much they could do about it. But it seemed like after I was diagnosed with non-alcoholic fatty liver, that's when everything started happening. Hypertension followed, obesity, depression set in, and uric acid levels like causing me to have kidney stone. One time the stone was so big it got stuck in my ureter, backed up, and I went septic and had to be choppered to St. Louis, and I was put on the vent. But just ridiculous. Cysts in my ovaries through the years. And then I was diagnosed with Cushing's from a tumor in my adrenal gland. And this caused my body to be in fight or flight mode for 24/7 for I don't know how many years.
Yeah.
But if people out are listening, if common signs of this are, weight around the midsection, fatty deposits around your face, and I had like a hump on my back. My arms and my legs were kind of skinny still though, but I felt weak and tired and sad and depressed. And then they had to remove the whole adrenal, the right adrenal gland. And my left had been asleep for so long that it wouldn't work. So then I was in adrenal insufficiency. So
go from one extreme to the other.
It just doesn't even seem real. And common symptoms are fatigue, weight gain, like salt and sugar cravings, anxiety and brain fog, poor sleep, joint pains. I had them all, hot flashes and mood swings. And I couldn't make cortisol on my own. So now I needed prednisone, hydrocortisone products to make my own cortisol because I couldn't make any.
Yeah.
So I learned through all this that your body needs much more cortisol than usual during physical stress, such as illness or serious injury. So I had to carry a vial of dexamethasone with me everywhere I went and a needle in case I was in an accident or I was so ill, because my body couldn't go into the fight or flight. So that was scary having to do that. So I wore a bracelet and had a paper with me I could pull out at any time for any healthcare providers if needed. But then a few years later, I needed a radical hysterectomy because I had 3 grapefruit-sized tumors in my uterus, and they were afraid they were cancerous. And I went to one of the best doctors. He was amazing in St. Louis. He thought he was going to open me up and I was going to be full, but I was blessed. But I felt like I couldn't catch a break, like the end was near, and I'd hit 250 pounds, and now I needed a CPAP to sleep. So anywhere I went, I'm dragging this CPAP with me and the insulin pump with me. I would stop breathing at night, and I just felt like I needed to get help. I was so hungry all the time, and how could I eat less and move more like they told me, because all I wanted to do was eat and sleep. And I was told to eat low fat and low salt. But my body was so tired and sore all the time. And I had gestational diabetes many years ago with my second pregnancy. So I wondered if it all had started then. No one ever mentioned insulin resistance or trying low carb keto nutrition until I met Dr. Siwas. But let alone carb addiction or elimination of processed food. I was encouraged to eat whatever I wanted in moderation and give myself a bolus.
Add more insulin,
Yeah. And my husband's like, this is crazy. You shouldn't be eating popcorn. I'm like, I can have 3 cups. I'm measuring them all out. I'm getting every morsel.
Just add a little bit more.
Yeah. But my addiction wasn't going away with moderation. Moderation, in fact, was killing me. Attempting to moderate these addictive foods led me deeper and deeper into my illness with more difficult consequences as the years went by. Finding out all this stuff, addiction is the only disease that tells us we don't have a disease, really. I mean, I was in denial, denial meaning don't even notice I'm lying. Sugar is the gateway drug, and it comes first before any other outlets. And taking on this concept that I had a carb addiction that Dr. Siwas, talked to me about and eliminating or implementing low carb, high fat nutrition was a game changer for me. I was able to eliminate all these medications, even the insulin pump, under the care of a low carb doctor. Never try doing this without being under the care of,
100%.
of a physician. If anyone's listening out there, I didn't stop taking them all. You have to be under the care. But processed food addiction is devastating disease for brain function. And they're inflammatory. I mean, look at all the things I had, all the cysts and everything I had. And it caused me many painful problems physically, mentally, emotionally. the stress is devastating for your family and everyone around you, and spiritually even. And I know you've mentioned in your previous talks about sugar already, which I'm really going to follow you through the whole way of this because I'm really interested. I love what you have to say. But sugar really is more addictive than cocaine. And your listeners have heard you say this.
Yeah.
Processed foods and sugar not meaning just the white stuff, pasta, flour, wheat, they're so addictive because they combine a number of addictive additives with them, artificial sweeteners, flour, gluten, fats, excessive salt. And it impairs our frontal lobe, your attention, your learning, your decision making, memory, and impulse control. And we're starting when we're kids. I feel bad that I didn't know, about this because I fed my kids stuff like this.
Yeah, I did too. I remember, and I still say it to my patients all the time. I regret giving my son that first Cheeto.
Yeah.
Because trying to break him of those has been heartbreaking. Do I want to go back to your story and some things that stuck out to me, and I don't know if the other viewers realize it, but you had this one thing that was looming that was trickling out and causing all of these other things, but people weren't necessarily putting it together. And I think it goes back to our healthcare system being kind of broken and not knowing what to do with people. But it's like one illness led to the next illness, led to the next illness, led to the next drug, led to the next drug. And you just get on this hamster wheel that you can't get off until somebody finally says, all right, this is the root cause. This is where it starts. And we have to put a hard stop in that hamster wheel if we want to get off at any point. And so that's kind of what I noticed is in your story is your fatty liver led to the high blood pressure, led to the diabetes, led to this, and it was just one drug after another.
A snowball effect. And if
every drug led to more side effects that caused the conditions to worsen.
If we could just educate everyone on what insulin resistance is and how you can cure it by eliminating sugar and carbohydrates from your body. But, processed foods are everywhere and they're cheap. They're cheap. Remember how I don't know if you remember when I was little, there were cigarette commercials everywhere, and they're not there anymore to trigger us. And they're expensive in comparison, but carb addiction, I mean, it's cheap. It's everywhere in the gas stations. I was in the hardware store one day and I'm like, there's a whole thing of candy bars right there in front.
Yeah.
So it's just cues and triggers everywhere. It is. Social situations at work, even here, at the hospital, for functions, donuts, pizza at work, at home, and family cravings all day long.
Yeah. And we often think of food as nourishment, but not all foods are nourishment. Those processed foods and those sugars, they are drugs to our systems, not nourishing items to our system. And so, how has your thought process changed going from all food is okay in moderation and food is good, my body needs that, to looking at foods as not foods, but as substances?
Oh, it's gone crazy.
It's completely flipped upside down and then rolled over.
I'm like looking at labels of everything. Oh, I shouldn't eat that. This got more than 4 ingredients, and I don't even know what that ingredient is. It's really important to educate yourself and your family and your clients on reading labels. And if you don't know what a word is on the back of there, why are you going to eat it?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't put it in your body.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just crazy. Processed food addiction is real. It's a real thing. Yeah. It can be helped. There's lots of help out there. I don't know. Do you have this Jones book right here?
I do.
Yes. Yeah. It's like an encyclopedia.
Yeah, it truly is a textbook on processed food.
Yeah.
Addiction. So with that, what is the criteria for addiction? And then how does that criteria relate to food items? Because these criteria were written for more like drugs and alcohol. And I feel like we're just now getting into equating them to food. So let's just kind of walk me through what does the criteria for addiction start with.
there's the DSM-5 and then there's the ICD-10, which is international. But I like whenever I do a sugar diagnostic tool on anyone, it's normally in America, so I use the DSM-5 mostly. But like the first one on the DSM-5 is taking the substance in larger amounts for longer than you meant to. I would do that. Well, let's say I wanted something and then my mind would play tricks on me. I'm like thinking I have to have it. So I thought about it. So then I would just keep on eating it, every day for a while, stopping at that gas station or whatever and getting that treat that I wanted. And number 2, wanting to cut down or stop using the substance, but not managing to do that. Like, okay, I'll eat 20 chips as a serving. Well, who
can eat just one? I mean, Pringles know that when they put their commercial out.
Yeah. I mean, seriously. Or spending a lot of time getting using or recovering from use of the substance.
People don't necessarily think of that post-eating crash that happens about 2 hours afterwards as recovery, but it is recovery. You had that high from that, and then you crashed and you're feeling fatigued. That is exactly recovering from use of a food.
And you just want to go to sleep, take a nap when you get home at 2:00 in the afternoon or whatever, when you're not supposed to be sleeping.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're craving and having the urges for it and you're thinking about it, oh, when I get home, I'm going to eat that, or I can't wait to eat that. And then you get home and maybe one of your kids have ate it and you're just totally pissed off. That's like really bad.
Mine. Why did you eat my food?
That's not right. Yeah. Or not manage to do what you should at work or home because of the substance, maybe you were supposed to do that load of laundry, or you were supposed to, do something around the house, but you ate that and now you feel terrible and you're going to go to sleep instead of doing what you were supposed to do. Or even if it causes problems in your relationships, you still do it anyway. Or giving up important social or recreational activities. I did that for sure. I would skip them all so that I knew they were going to be gone. So I could pig out on that whole bag of cheese puffs or whatever it was that I wanted. And then I would hide it and lie about it and sneak it and they wouldn't even know, or continue to use even when you know that you have a physical problem. I knew I had type 2 diabetes. Why did I want to eat all that? And you knew it
was causing harm, but you chose to do it anyway. Just like in drug addiction, you know that cocaine is going to cause you harm, but those drug addicts are taking it anyway with full knowledge that it's going to cause them harm.
Right. Or even if you're an alcoholic and you know it hurts you, but you take that drink anyway. It's the same concept. And when I was told about that I had an addiction, a carb addiction, a light bulb went off in my head like, wow, I can get help now. I can get help. There's really something. It's a brain disease,
Yeah.
So the DSM-5 is great because if you if you have 2 or 3 symptoms, it indicates a mild substance, or if you have 6 or more, it's severe. Well, of course, mine was severe, which means that I needed abstinence from my drug of choice. And you can figure out if people are harmful users or just a social user, or if they have a severe addiction.
Yeah, so that was actually, I added that question today while I was thinking about this. Is there different levels of users, like that person who is that social user or the occasional user but doesn't have much harm? What are the levels of users or addiction? Is there that?
Yeah, of course. And that's when we would go into you can figure that out. Of course, many are addicted, but there's many that aren't addicted. But if you do a sugar diagnostic tool, that tells the story for sure. But there's 3 groups. There's social users, there's harmful users, and then there's those that are addicted.
Okay.
We call social users normies because they can have one bite.
Yeah, that person that can go to the birthday cake or can have a piece of cake and then not binge later or things of that.
They don't lose control. They don't think about it. One bite and they're satisfied. And then you have the harmful users, where moderation is okay with a harmful user because they can use many tools to moderate. they might seem like an addicted person in the beginning, because they eat when they're stressed or unhappy or emotional, or maybe a loved one's left them or something like that. But they can do moderation.
Okay.
And then there's an addict like myself that's pathological. I'm obsessive, loss of control
Yeah.
over the food. It's what happens in a person's brain when they're exposed to a rewarding substance. The light bulb goes off,
Yeah.
and you want more. And then moderation, of course, digs you deeper and deeper into your addiction. And that's what most people suggest, moderation.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
yeah.
So let's give me some basic screening questions that if someone is wondering, all right, do I possibly have food addiction? What questions should someone ask them, or should I even ask in the clinic to screen and determine if, all right, this is possibly an issue?
Yeah, I would absolutely use the uncope,
Mm-hmm.
questions. And I think 2 or more answers indicates a problem or
Mm-hmm.
addiction, but it's just an indication. But that will create awareness when the client or the person asks, themselves these questions.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could even put it on your screening tool, before they even see you. But unplanned use, what was the first one?
Yeah, so I've got
And
it here in front of me. Let's just go through.
oh,
So
great.
first
Okay,
one
thanks.
is unplanned use. The question is, in the past year, have you ever eaten more sweets? Or sweets can also be the processed foods, refined foods, highly
Right.
processed starches, things like that turn to sugar. So more sweets than you intended to, or have you spent more time eating and using sweets than you intended to? So just
Right. And that's within the last 12 months. So you're asking these questions. Has this happened to you in the last 12 months? So if it's a current happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next one is neglected. So, have you ever neglected some of your usual daily responsibilities due to using sweets or overeating? My favorite example of this is the person that has to stop at McDonald's or Dunkin' to get their fix, even if it means getting late for work. You have
Yeah.
an expected time. You have to be there. If you stop, you're going to be late, but you do it anyways. And you're just like, oh, the line was long, or oh, I was in traffic, or oh, but that is neglected.
Perfect example. Or you have to stop at the gas station on the way home when you're going to make supper right then.
That's another great one.
Yeah.
C stands for cut down. Have you ever felt that you wanted or needed to cut down on eating sweets in the last year? So that's just the thought process, correct?
Yeah. And I know I did whenever I'd go get those 2 boxes of stuff at the movie theater. I didn't just get Mike Ike's. I might get a box of Dots too. Oh,
Oh, and then O is objected. If anyone, family, friends, healthcare professional, hint, hint, people knew
Yeah.
about your eating habits with the sweets, would they object or protest? So if someone outed you and exposed you, would they object to it, kind of thing? P was preoccupied. Have you ever found yourself preoccupied with wanting sweets or found yourself thinking a lot about sweets? I call that food noise. Just that
Yeah.
constant food noise, like it won't quiet.
It's like your brain telling you lies.
Yeah.
Like you can't live without it.
Yeah. There's one more, but I want to add a side question about that. When you were consuming processed foods and sugars and then you stopped, and I know sometimes that food noise probably creeps itself back in,
Mhm.
but there's an amount of time that the brain is just so loud and you have to get through it.
Mhm.
But after you get through that time, the food noise just becomes a little less and a little less and a little less, as long as you continue to abstain. Do you remember for you how long that food noise stayed really present and loud in your head?
I had gotten so very sick, so I was really ready to try
Mhm.
something different.
Mhm.
And it was easy because I came clean with my family and let
Mhm.
them know that I had an addiction, same as drugs or alcohol, and that I needed their help.
Yeah.
So they helped me with the noise, actually.
Okay.
I'd be like, man, I'm really having a hard time today. I really want that. And they'd be like, well, why? It made you sick. Why do you want
Yeah.
to, let's get outside. Let's go take a walk.
Oh, that's awesome.
Let's go walk the dog. Let's go do something. Let's
Yeah.
throw the frisbee or throw peg catch
Yeah.
or whatever it is. So,
Preoccupy you and get you
yeah.
out of
Get your brain to your thought process needs to
Yeah.
long-term behavior change is what is needed. And it's really hard. And people think it's really easy, but it's not, because we have to eat to live.
Yeah.
And it's there every day.
Yeah. And this is a daily, lifelong commitment.
Right.
So that last question is E, and it stands for emotional discomfort. Have you ever used sweet foods to relieve emotional discomfort, such as fatigue, irritation, sadness, anger, tiredness, and or boredom? And that's a big one. People don't necessarily equate that to potentially being, I might have a problem with food, but
that's one of them. Dr. Siwas is like, are you bored? Why are you doing the drive-by?
Yep.
Why you got the fridge open? Are you really hungry?
Yeah.
Go put a puzzle together.
Exactly. Go do something. Occupy those hands.
Yeah.
So someone identifies with those questions and they're like, oh man, I think I have a food addiction. I think I have a problem with processed foods. What is the next step? What resources and next steps would you recommend to that person if they think they have a problem?
Okay, so you can go on to Bitten's Addiction website, and there's a list of certified and licensed sugar specialists on there, and you can actually have a sugar interview done on you. Sugar means sugar use general assessment recording. So it's an online instrument, it's a diagnostic tool to assess a person's relationship to sweet, starchy, grain-based, hyperpalatable foods, which may act like psychoactive substances in the body's reward centers. So the mapping helps determine whether a person is a normal user, a harmful user, or an addictive, and what their relationship is. It screens for depression, general anxiety disorder, stress, nicotine, caffeine, PTSD, subscription pills, and gambling. And it's all based on ICD-10, DSM-5, and it's the only one like it in the world right now. And it has inherited validity from ADDIS, which is Alcohol Drug Diagnostic Instrument. So there's many of those specialists that can help you there. You can get a treatment plan afterwards. If you are in fact addicted, you can get a treatment plan and start with the biochemical repair. You can actually print off your treatment plan and bring it to a provider such as yourself or your diabetic educator and say, look, this is what we found. I need help. This is what's wrong with me. There's also amazing groups out there to help with addiction and relapse prevention. And some of them, I would like to tell you what some of my favorites are.
Yeah.
Addiction is for life. And I totally agree with that. I know some people don't, but I feel like addiction is for life and that you need group support for life. Group support with like-minded people to create accountability and have a safe place for your support, for your urges and your cravings. And one of the best ones I found is Sugar X Global. It's amazing with Dave and Judy and Anna. And then Joan Eiflin's ARC has around-the-clock group support. And there's also a newer one, Sweet Sobriety, with Molly and Clarissa, that's pretty awesome out there. A favorite little book that I read, and I bring it everywhere, is Fork in the Road by Jen Unwin. And Food Junkies has a podcast with the amazing Vera Tarman and her book as well. And then there's Facebook groups, Sugar Bomb in Your Brain, Sugar Free for Life Support. And then Dr. Westman's, of course, amazing End Your Carb Confusion and Adapt Your Life Academy courses. My parents, who are 80 years old, took a Keto Made Simple master class, and they've done very well with it. So it's really awesome. And then if you're wanting some behavior change tools, Tracy McBeath, the health and healing coach, has amazing groups, even for coaches to help. But, addiction affects all parts of your life. I can't stress it enough. Biochemical, physical, psychological, and spiritual. So recovery is a process. And addiction is one disease, many outlets. And cross addictions are so very real. Like I had trouble when I started giving up stuff and I wanted to do other things like shopping and got to some financial trouble. So you have to, addiction is, it's a brain disease.
Yeah.
David Wolf shared a quote from Eric Clapton that really resonated with me. Your drug is anything that changes the way you think or feel.
Yeah.
That was something for me. And if you're really addicted, you need to protect yourself from yourself. Dr. Sai was told me that, and I thought it was amazing. You really do need to protect yourself from yourself. You need to ask yourself every day, how am I going to protect myself today in each of those categories? Physically, mentally, social, and spiritually. Commit to one thing in each area. Start each day, every day with gratitude, and end each day with gratitude if you can.
Yeah.
And Judy Wolf told me one bite is too many and 1,000 is never enough. And when it comes to potato chips, that was it for me.
100%, 100%.
You know,
Yeah. Here, I was going to say, here in Dixon, we do have a local Overeaters Anonymous, which I know there's been some mixed history with that, but I know the people that are the leaders here in Dixon, and they truly believe in food as addictive substances and avoiding it, and realizing that, you know, what might trigger one person to overeat may not trigger the next person to overeat, and truly finding those triggers. But they're a good supportive resource. So if you're in Dixon and want a hands-on face-to-face person, the Overeaters Anonymous group here in town is really good. So
I'd like to join something such as that. I haven't done that yet, but I would like to join it because I think it would actually help me as well. Bitten told me us all once, addiction is like water surrounding a ship, always waiting for a crack.
Yeah.
Self-care is healthcare, right?
It is. And until you take care of yourself, that your health just kind of, it goes away. It slowly is a loss of your health. You've talked a little bit about when there's food addiction, you can't really moderate. You have to think of it just like we think other drugs. I think that was a good thing. And I hammer it home with my patients all the time. You brought up too, and I want to highlight it, that addiction is not necessarily something that is cured or something that is healed. It is something that you treat and you put into remission. And I know my opinion on this, but you tell me your opinion. Can those foods ever come back into your life or come back into someone that truly struggles with a food addiction? Do you think they can ever add those foods back, or do you think it's always?
I struggle with this because no, because once I have a little bit, I want more and I think about it excessively. But in the beginning of my journey to wellness, I needed those things for a bridge. I needed those to get me through. So I think for everybody's journey is a little bit different.
Yeah. And so I guess there's a difference in, are you talking about like some of the low carb keto treat type things?
Yeah.
But as far as the all out real chocolate cake and the real ice cream,
no.
those are forever off.
Yeah.
And I believe, like you do, that some people need the treats or the fake or the step better as a bridge. But you also have to kind of look at it as that those can't stay forever too, because some of those items trigger you just as much as the real thing.
The same thing will happen. Like I'll pass by it maybe and look at it. And then when nobody's looking, I might just take a little bite. And then the next thing you know, I'm like, somebody take this out of here. Please.
Yeah. Man, I found, and it's even true for me. There's a couple items that I know that are my trigger foods that I can never, ever bring back. But I found these little coconut wisp type things that have just a hint of honey. I mean, their carbs are next to nothing. But man, when you dip it in some peanut butter.
Oh, yeah.
And finally my son said, Mom, how many of those are you going to eat? It's like, sorry, I guess, okay, I can't buy them again. They can't come in my house because obviously this is something that is healthy for me or healthier for me.
Yeah. If you truly have a problem such as myself, you should, abstinence is what it's got to be. But you're getting your health back, right?
Yes.
What's better than that? And your clothes are getting, your clothes are getting loose, and you can sleep better, and you can go out and be with your family. And I don't care if my picture's taken now. Before I used to hate it. I would hide behind people, I'd be like, no.
No, I think at a local or recent conference, you were nominated the social butterfly. I wasn't there, but to be a social butterfly, you're taking pictures with everybody.
I had so much fun.
So you also, in your spare time, you work as a health coach, helping people through this journey. So tell me what it's like to work with you with a health coach. How often do you meet? How do you meet? If someone wanted to work with you as their health coach through this journey, how would they connect with you?
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of time right now. I take them as my time allows. So usually they reach out to me on Facebook or any of the platforms like Bitten's Addiction, the SMHP, we're listed there. Low Carb USA, we're listed there. And then I just let people know. And if I can't fit them in, then I point them in the direction to someone that can help them.
Yeah,
So
for
yeah.
sure. For sure.
Mm.
So I will not take up any more of your time. We definitely are going to have to do this again. If you
Yeah.
have specific questions related to food addiction and screening or anything related to this, please put it in the comments so that I can see if Tia would join us again to discuss specific things. Also, if you have not heard, we have a conference coming up in August. Yes, August 26th, Low Carb for Better Health. Miss Tia will be there. She's not speaking this year, but she's going to be there. If you'd like to meet her in person, and remember we have on the premium tickets that hour-and-a-half lunch, she'll be there at that time. She'll be happy to chat with you and have
Absolutely.
conversations. She's her social butterfly. She would love to have those conversations. So come meet Tia. The links for that are in the bios of my Facebook or on a pinned post on Facebook, bios on Instagram and Twitter, things like that. So yes, I want to continue talking about food addiction. I think it's been swept under the rug for too long and ignored, and can't wait to get the word out for more. So if you have things you want to ask, put them in the comments and we'll see about having Tia back. Tia, anything else you want to wrap up and say?
No, I'm just really excited for Tennessee. It's so nice to have something close.
It is, and I can't wait to see it grow. I can't wait to see it grow. It's been amazing.
And anybody out there, you can do this too. Yes. Just eliminate sugar.
Yes, a step at a time. Pick one, cut it out, and keep going. All right, until next time, Tia.
All right, thanks.